One of the biggest upsets in the history of New York politics.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Zohran Mamdani soared to City Hall, making big promises.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford.
At only 34 years old, the first Muslim and South Asian mayor of New York today makes history.
This is truly the honor and the privilege of a lifetime.
Leading one of the most diverse cities in the world as we begin 2026. With his mantra to make New York more affordable, it all begins today.
This is an Eyewitness News special presentation. The inauguration of Zohran Mamdani.
And you are looking live at New York City Hall. It is a new year, a new day, and certainly a new era of New York City politics. Zohran Mamdani, now the city's mayor officially after a midnight swearing in, is essentially hosting a big party. Thousands of New Yorkers descending on this space right here in Lower Manhattan to celebrate his historic run. We're talking about a block party that is stretching the Canyon of Heroes. And we officially welcome you in. Happy New Year to all of you, and Happy New Year to you. I'm Mike Marza.
And I'm Sandra Bookman. You can feel the excitement and the anticipation as all of these folks gathered here waiting for Zohran Mamdani to get publicly sworn in as the next mayor of New York. In fact, you can hear them asking folks to take their seats here at City Hall. We are expecting, again, this to be a fairly comprehensive program, beginning with opening remarks from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, musical performances by Mandy Patinkin, Lucy Dacus, and Bubblicious, a poetry reading by Cornelius Eady, and ending with the official swearing in, the oath, of course, being delivered by Senator Bernie Sanders. Then we will hear from the new mayor himself.
And we mentioned the midnight swearing in, the official ceremony that happened actually underground. It was 13 hours ago beneath City Hall in the old City Hall subway station. The oath officially given by Attorney General Tish James, the new mayor, surrounded by his family members and staff members. And of note in this particular swearing in, the oath was taken on 2 Qurans, including one that is centuries old, held by his wife Rama, marking the first time a mayor of New York City has used Islam's holy text to be sworn in. One of the many historic firsts that we're going to be discussing here today, Sandra.
Yeah, the youngest mayor in 100 years, 34-year-old Democrat socialist, focused heavily on the issue of affordability during his campaign. Throughout the broadcast, we are going to talk about many of his campaign promises, where things stand today, as well as take a look at the incoming administration, who will be part of Mamdani's inner circle.
So a lot to get to. Right now, they're beginning the program, or just shortly about to begin the program. And so we're going to be pausing at different points, including the national anthem and different speakers. You mentioned AOC is going to be speaking, and then later on, Senator Sanders. But I just imagine we haven't seen really a party down the Canyon of Heroes since the Liberty won the championship.
Exactly.
And now we're celebrating a new mayor, as so many people here are celebrating this historic change. We've got reporters fanned out throughout the route and throughout the crowd today, Zohran Kim included. But let's begin with Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate, because he's out there. And Phil, I know you can report on this. It is cold. The temperature is one thing, but the feels like out here is in the teens, I believe. And it is palpable, but certainly the energy is still very high, Phil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mike, Sandra, good afternoon. There is such an energy out here. Folks tell me they are layered up, but they wanted to be here for this historic moment. Right now we're on Liberty and Broadway at one of the security checkpoints. Folks are being wanted down by the NYPD. This all happening in real time. This is happening on both sides of the street, but folks say they were not going to miss this moment. They say this is a big deal to see this mayor that they have gotten behind. Right now I'm joined by Lionel from Harlem, and he tells me that he had to be here. Lionel, it's cold, but you still came out.
Have to support Zohran.
What resonated with you during his campaign?
Affordability and the protection of true New Yorkers, immigrants who actually came to New York to benefit themselves and and benefit their families.
Again, right now you're taking a live look here at Liberty and Broadway. The goal of all of these folks that are right here is to make it onto Broadway and to be able to watch this historic ceremony from the Canyon of Heroes. Of course, we'll be joining you all with live reports throughout the hour. Guys?
Thank you very much. Also along the Canyon of Heroes are Zohran Kim. Zohran, you noticed how long the lines were to get in here to be part of this big party today.
Well, Sandra, I skipped that line. First of all, I haven't spoken to you and Mike since last year, so Happy New Year. And yes, I am here in the Canyon of Heroes with the thousands of people who lined up for hours before this program started in the cold. Let me show you what this looks like out here. This is 1 block south of City Hall. They're watching this from a Jumbotron on Broadway and Park Row. And let's talk to some folks now who did line up since 11 a.m. in this freezing cold to be here today. Tell me what this moment means for you.
This moment means so much to me. It's a first step towards growth and success for the city because Zohran's able to represent the people of every borough because he's actually tackling the problems that we need to tackle for the city in order for the city to succeed.
How cold are you?
I'm actually not that cold. The music is keeping me warm and my friends, so.
Thank you so much. Well, they're not that cold because they've been dancing to all the music. There are supporters out here riling up the crowd, so they're ready. They'll be here for the next hour, and we'll be here too. Back to you guys.
All right, Stefan, you know, it is interesting. They have a DJ out here. It's like we went right from Ryan Seacrest, Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, right into New Year's Day with the atmosphere here. Certainly needed on a day like today. We mentioned the official swearing in happening at that historic subway stop, one of the original 28 stops here in the city, and it was symbolic in so many ways. Mayor Mamdani rode the 6 train there to meet Tish James, the Attorney General of New York. Aaron Katersky joins us now to talk about that conversation he just had with New York's attorney. And a happy New Year to you, Aaron.
Happy New Year to you, Mike. There are a number of dignitaries in this crowd here. We saw former Mayor Bill de Blasio, the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg here, saw Mahmoud Khalil, who was held by the Trump administration for his activism at Columbia University, but also a cross-section of Mayor Mamdani's core supporters, some still wearing their caps that say tax the rich and democratic socialists. This is a real passing of the generational torch, it seems, from one of Mamdani's political heroes, Bernie Sanders, to Mamdani, taking up that progressive mantle. But when he was officially sworn in, it fell to New York Attorney General Letitia James to do the honors of administering the oath. I spoke to her a moment ago.
You got to inaugurate the new mayor. What was that like?
It was amazing to do it in a decommissioned subway station. You know, and it really represents the grandness of New York City, and that's what we have to return to. We've got to build grand things, great things in the city of New York. We've got to polish off a little of the dirt and let people know how exceptional New York City is and New York State.
What does this moment mean for not only City Hall, but for the entire city, the ascendancy of someone like Zohran Mamdani?
It represents hope and prosperity. Listen, I was the first African-American woman elected citywide as well as statewide. I know a little bit about making history, and today we're making history, but it represents promise, and it represents all of us being together collectively, focusing on the issue of affordability and trying to address the needs of New Yorkers and Americans as a whole.
There are so many expectations sitting on his shoulders. Can he meet them?
Yes. I believe if we all get together and recognize that individuals under 40 cannot afford to buy homes, they can't afford to rent, if we recognize that childcare is out of reach for countless number of families, if we recognize that obviously we need to focus on food and food co-ops and food insecurity, we obviously can work together, but we've got to be intentional. We've got to recognize that people are struggling and hurting, and that's what New Yorkers witnessed in this historic election when countless number of individuals came out. And it's important that we all be together in this, and we stand together against any overreach by the federal government and also any attempt to harm us here in the state of New York. And I look forward to working with Mayor Zohran Mamdani as we move forward.
Okay, there she is, Courtney. The Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, speaking to us just a moment ago, one of many dancing to the music here at City Hall as we're moments away now, Mike and Sandra, from the public swearing in of the new mayor.
Aaron Katersky at ABC, we appreciate that conversation. And Aaron, before we let you go, kind of view what's about to unfold here as we have this conversation throughout the next 90 minutes. You know, it's interesting when you talk about Mayor Mamdani and you mentioned the sort of the parallel to Bernie Sanders. Mayor Mamdani 1 year ago was taking a polar plunge into Coney Island, shooting a campaign video for social media. Nobody knew who he was, really.
Exactly.
Now he is very much so an international figure, certainly for the socialist movement. What do you make of the national implications of what's happening today?
Well, he is certainly the most recognizable mayor, in the country right now, and he hasn't, even started yet. But what he did do was he went to the White House. He appeared to charm President Trump in their brief Oval Office visit, and the president even offered him support as he talked about building more housing in the city of New York. President Trump could talk all day about building housing units in New York City. And so where there is going to be a point of agreement with the president, you can imagine Mayor Mamdani, and he said this, that he would reach out to the White House. But where there's going to be an adversarial relationship, he has said he would not be afraid to challenge President Trump. We'll see how that relationship goes. I asked the Attorney General, what about the million New Yorkers who didn't vote for Zohran Mamdani? Should they be afraid of his agenda and what's ahead? She said no, that even though he is a committed democratic socialist, she said he would resist labels and do what's best for all New Yorkers. So there is so much riding on him, and to see whether the progressive policies that he champions can work in the nation's largest city.
Once again, we'll certainly be watching closely. Aaron, we appreciate that. We know Mayor Mamdani definitely softened or at least walked back some of his statements previously during the campaign. We'll see how it all plays out now that he's officially mayor.
Yeah. Aaron, thank you very much. What he did with President Trump, very smart, found the common ground. Affordability itself was what Trump won the White House on that second time around. So at least they start out on the same page. We'll see what happened in the next few months.
Absolutely.
We talked a lot about how young Zohran Mamdani is. He's actually the second youngest mayor to lead the city. That's one first that he doesn't have. He's 34 years old, 2 months, 14 days old today. The youngest, Hugh J. Grant, an old Tammany Hall candidate. Mamdani also the first Muslim mayor, the first mayor of South Asian heritage. Of course, the first Jewish mayor was Abraham Bean back in 1973.
So interesting when you think about the history that is being written today. But if you want to go way back, and if you're keeping track of this sort of thing, Bill Ritter and I have been going back and forth on what number mayor is Mayor Mamdani. Kind of an important thing, right? We know Mayor Adams is the 110th, so we thought, okay, well, Mayor Mamdani will be the 111th. Well, it turns out he's actually the 112th. Why? Because of a recording error that happened back in the 1600s. The widely used list of mayors undercounted Matthias Nichols. This was back in 1672 to 1673. He was mayor back then. John Lawrence came in and was a mayor. And then he was ousted by a Dutch invasion that briefly saw the implementation of a different form of government. But then the Netherlands eventually gave up New York City, and the English decided to reappoint Mayor Nichols in late 1674. So that's where the counting got off between the 6th, the 7th, and what would have been the 8th mayors. So we mentioned the 110th mayor, Mayor Adams there on the left, and then you see Mayor de Blasio.
109?
109th, yes. Right, correctly. Now we're all trying to figure it all out. Just to kind of put a bow on what we were talking about with Mayor Mamdani, once he officially became mayor at midnight, thanks to swearing in by Attorney General Tisch, he put out an official proclamation, his team did, noting that he is the 112th mayor. So that is what we're going to go with, because that's what the mayor said. It's interesting. We saw Mayor de Blasio here, and we saw Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams and Mayor Mamdani had a very contentious few months because of the campaigning. And in fact, Mayor Adams switched to an independent because of what happened along the way, and it was Mayor Mamdani that officially was the Democratic nominee. It's interesting to see moving forward what role Mayor Adams will have because of the combustible nature of what his term ended up being with scandal.
Well, I think it's all former politicians trying to figure out what that next act is, right? And he's going to find himself in the position of having to do that. Who knows? He said he seemed to have a bounce in his step the other day when he gave that farewell speech. He said he had to bounce. So let's see. Still had that swag.
Yeah, well,
still had that swag.
We're bouncing here. I got 12 layers on. Phil Tate is the same. He's out there in the crowd, though. We hear sort of people taking their seats. And we see Attorney General Tish James just kind of giving a wave to the crowd. You can see there. Let's go to the man on the left there, always dressed to impress on New Year's Day, no different. Phil Tate, how are you feeling? What's the crowd energy like here on this inauguration day for Mayor Mamdani?
Oh, Mike, Sandra, there is just such an emotion out here, and it was very interesting hearing you all say all those facts. And for what Zohran Mamdani, our mayor, means to so many people. Again, he is the first Muslim mayor here in New York City. I was actually just talking with Serene here. She's joined with some friends. She's braving the cold, all bundled up. We were just speaking moments ago about him being our first Muslim mayor of New York City. Tell me, what does this moment mean for you all?
As a Muslim Palestinian who's been living in New York City since 1990, 35 years now, it means a lot, especially after 9/11, where we really discriminated against. I was harassed. I lost even my job. I was fired from a school after 9/11 because of that. So it means a lot for this city to realize doesn't mean based on your religion you got elected. Zohran Mamdani was elected not based in because he's Muslim. Zohran Mamdani was elected because what he promised in New York City, and I hope he can keep those promises.
What are you looking forward to him to doing over the next 4 years leading the Big Apple?
Zohran, ahdan wa wa'dan means in Arabic, keep your promise. You promise us, keep those promises. Number one, immigrant. No ICE in New York City. We all immigrant in this country. This country was built by immigrants. Second, lower the rent, keep New York City safe for all people from all religion and background. Third, free Palestine. You promise us if Netanyahu, war criminal who committed genocide in Gaza, ever visit New York City to be arrested.
Thank you so much for speaking with me this afternoon. As you all heard, many people not forgetting those campaign promises that Mayor Mamdani had made, including affordability, which was a big talking point of his campaign. As you can see, it's still a very energetic crowd of folks who are out here waiting just to get inside. Some people even waving right there. Folks are just waiting to get inside onto Broadway. This is a completely bottleneck area right now, but there is no shoving or pushing. Everyone is really just waiting patiently just to take a look at those jumbo to see what's going on at City Hall, where you all are for this historic moment. Guys, I'll send it back to you all.
All right, Phil, the same excitement you are sensing from the folks there, we're feeling it on the grounds of City Hall here. Just want to mention some of the big names, dignitaries that have already arrived. Attorney General Tish James, you saw her. Also, Bernie Sanders is here, one of Mr. Mamdani's personal heroes. He is, of course, going to be holding the Quran when Mr. Mamdani is sworn in this afternoon and just minutes from now. Also, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is here, and the Mamdani family. They've been filing in, taking their seats, waiting for that big moment.
It's interesting to think about what must be going through the minds of Mayor Mamdani's parents, and to think about the journey. Just forget about the politics, but just as your son, to see this moment being realized, it is incredible. Their own story, which we have covered somewhat. Mayor Mamdani's father is a professor at Columbia. His mother is an award-winning filmmaker, and we just learned that she actually helped sort of on the down low, campaign for him during the primary, Mayor Mamdani. But to see this moment, just as a father and son, to in a mother and son moment, to see this play out is pretty remarkable.
And he has won this role on his own. Essentially on the things that he believes are truly important. You know, you mentioned jumping in the water a year ago trying to get some attention, and he's probably, Time has that man of the year.
Right.
Certainly he's a candidate for that. He's managed to do this to convince people that he knows, has his finger on the pulse of what New Yorkers need and want, and he believes he's figured out a way to help them get that.
But he is no doubt facing headwinds. We talked about there is a considerable section of this city who did not vote for him, even within his own party.
But
and
that's always the case, is it not?
It is always the case. And I think what's interesting is to have him navigate that at 34 years old. The second youngest mayor to ever do so. One of the ways that he's trying to combat the criticism, and he's installing heads of these different divisions and different departments with experienced people.
Which makes sense.
And we've seen that with the police department, the NYPD, keeping on Commissioner Tish, which was
the Transportation Commissioner appointed today,
which was just named as well. But this is a person who no doubt will have to deal with some of the things that he's had to face on the campaign. At one point, he he called the NYPD racist. He's since walked back those conversations with people on the force. He clearly has, it seems like, a great relationship with Commissioner Tisch. But some of the programs, even besides what he said, there's also a big section of the Jewish population. You know, we know more Jewish people live in New York City than any other city in this country. And some within that community have real concerns about some of the previous statements. The refusal to denounce the globalized intifada, which many people in the Jewish community believe that that's a call for violence. And his support of Palestine, and some of those conversations that he's tried to explain on the campaign trail, but no doubt he'll have to explain now that he's in office.
He's got his work ahead of him, and he's going to have to figure out how to win some of those doubters over. That's how he'll spend the next few months.
And I think one of the ways, and you hit on the head with this just nationally as well, is the affordability aspect of the conversation. And the programs that he's proposing and that he won on will cost the city $7 billion at a time when it's going to be unclear if he's going to get federal help for that. No doubt it's a big challenge, but he won for a reason. People here are excited to celebrate that fact, and Stefan Kim is with some of them right now. 4,000 people ticketed for this area here, but so many more lining the streets, the Canyon of Heroes. Stefan, what's the energy like right now?
Well, Mike, let me tell you how excited they are for this and how cold they are. A few moments ago, they were chanting, "Take your seats." Let me show you the crowd here on Broadway. They are crushed up against the building. When Mayor Adams came up on the Jumbotron, not surprising, the crowd booed. When Senator Bernie Sanders showed up, the crowd cheered. I'm now joined by a young man, Joshua Service from Queens, who, by the way, was born on 9/11. We're not too far from Ground Zero. He's inspired to run for office himself. Tell me first why you decided to come out here today.
I decided to come out here to first say congratulations to new Mayor Zohran Mamdani. This is very inspirational, and it shows like people like me can also get a chance in office. Man, it's a lot. It's cold out here. I want to keep it short. But in the future, I plan on running for mayor as well.
Tell me why.
When I was younger, I ended up homeless. My house burned down. I have a plethora of stories that I'm willing to tell. But at the end of the day, I want to make change to this city that you have not seen before. And if Zohran does not make these changes, I will make sure that I make those changes in the future when I become mayor.
Well, Joshua, thank you for joining us. He's one of many young people, and all alike, thousands again out here in the crowd, braving the cold. They're up and down Broadway, waiting for this thing to start, just like we are. Back to you guys.
Yeah, that man, young man, thank you very much, Stefan. That young man echoing, I think, the thoughts of a lot of young people, not necessarily about running for mayor themselves in the future, but the fact that they believe this young man has a vision of what he wants the future to be. He wants to be a part of making that future, of helping New Yorkers make that future. And I heard a lot of people say on the campaign trail that I'm ready for somebody younger. It doesn't have to be the old folks. We need somebody that thinks a little bit differently. Zohran Mamdani was the guy they thought could do that.
I mean, he is young, but he energized so many young people, and really people of all ages, which is how he reached this point. But all of this started way back when Mayor Mamdani was just a kid. January 1st, 2025, Zohran Mamdani was among the thousands of people on Coney Island for the annual Polar Plunge, running into that freezing water in a suit for a campaign video.
I'm freezing. You're right. As the next mayor of New York City.
It went viral, just like his candidacy. So how did this little-known assemblyman, who basically went unnoticed on Coney Island exactly 1 year ago, become New York City's next mayor and the face of a new political movement? For that answer, let's rewind. Zohran Kwame Mamdani was born in Uganda in 1991. His middle name, Kwame, in honor of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president who had a primarily socialist administration. Both of Mamdani's parents are of Indian descent. His father is an academic. His mother, an award-winning filmmaker, who we just learned last week clandestinely campaigned for her son during the primary.
Anybody who's voting for Zohran, I tell them a secret. I am his mother.
After spending 5 years in Uganda and then 2 more in South Africa, the Mamdanis moved to New York and settled in Morningside Heights. This is what he told Bill Ritter about being an immigrant.
I am like 40% of New Yorkers in that I was born elsewhere. And I came to the city at the age of 7. And my favorite blocks in this city for quite some time were the blocks around Federal Plaza. It's where I got my citizenship, where I was sworn in as someone belonging to this country, and it was one of the greatest days of my life.
Growing up on the West Side, Mamdani played soccer in Riverside Park, grabbed breakfast at Absolute Bagel, and a slice for lunch at Coronet. He attended Bank Street School on 112th.
Vague recollection of like an Arsenal backpack, definitely would wear Arsenal jerseys.
Classmates remember Mamdani as someone who was well-liked and bridged different friend groups, something that helped him win an election for student body president.
The war in Iraq was happening, it was pretty unpopular. So he was talking about like the cost of an aircraft carrier and how many schools you could build with that money.
After Bank Street, it was on to Bronx Science, where Mamdani started the school's first ever cricket team. But he also lost his first ever election for student government. He campaigned on a promise of fresh juice every day for students. When the New York Post wrote about that campaign during the primary, this was Mamdani's viral response on social media.
It's also true that I did not conduct a feasibility study when I campaigned on a promise of fresh juice for high school seniors.
After Bronx Science, Mamdani headed north to Maine in Bowdoin College, a highly selective liberal arts school.
He had a magnetic personality then. He cared about other people's stories.
He majored in Africana Studies, and Robert Morrison was one of his professors.
I also think that the liberal arts method and a humanities major gave, both in my classes and others, gave him those skills that have really helped him in politics.
Outside of class, he was active in campus politics, co-founding the school's chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. He also called for Bowdoin to join the American Studies Association's boycott of Israel.
I think one thing you've just got to say is he's real.
After graduating, he returned to New York and helped work on his mother's films. And he tried launching a rap career under the name Young Cardamom. The two paths intersected when he produced the soundtrack for his mother's 2016 film, Queen of Katwe, including the song Number One Spice.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice. Who's the number one spice?
His musical career never really took off. It did sort of kind of respawn.
Well, I guess he didn't really need a musical career, huh?
Yeah, I could say things appear to be working out just fine. Speaking of the music has stopped, and they have officially started the program here. Exactly. And they're playing a video, which is essentially a hype video about how his candidacy went from that polar plunge 1 year ago to now being sworn in as the city's 112th mayor.
It really is a pretty incredible story when you see where he started and where he's ended up. Story's nice, but he's still got a huge job ahead of him. Today is the day to celebrate, party with all of these people, the 4,000 in this area, and 40,000 more is what they expected outside, and I suspect we're getting pretty close to that.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, it's cold day, but the sun is shining, and it certainly is the dawn of a new day, no matter how you fall on the political spectrum here. And it's interesting to note that some of the dignitaries here include people that did not outright support him or vouch for him during the campaign, including Chuck Schumer, the longtime senator from New York.
Yeah, he's supposed to be here this afternoon. I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him yet. It's interesting, too, because where we are on these risers with dozens and dozens of reporters from all over the world, and they're watching everything unfold, and people are wearing so many layers.
Exactly. But it does make it comfortable. It almost feels like spring, right?
In our minds. in our minds. Let's go to Phil Tate. And again, we may have to interrupt you, Phil, because once the national anthem begins, well, Phil Tate's out on the route, and so is Stephon Kim. But now we're watching the final people kind of file in, where we expect to see people make their way.
Because Phil Tate, yeah, we're here. Phil Tate, I think, Phil, you're ready to talk to us out there. Folks getting antsy, waiting to see the new mayor get publicly sworn in.
Oh, yes, Sandra, Mike, folks can't wait to make their way in. Again, we're at the security checkpoint. We've just been talking with people about what Zohran Mamdani has meant to them, our new mayor. And one thing that we've seen covering this race is how fast he was able to outpace his competitors. And I'm speaking with Laura Lee right here. And we've been having a really great conversation, just hearing your perspective. What was it for you that really resonated with you and his message?
The thing that resonated with me about Zohran Mamdani and his campaign was that he showed up for every community and every demographic in the city. I got to meet him so many times because he showed up to rallies, town halls, protests, marches, and he was everywhere in the city. People saw him. People listened to him because they listened to him, because he listened to them. Yeah, and so I think that really resonated with so many people and garnered him support because he was able to reach out to communities who'd never been listened to, who'd never been reached out to by politicians, and he showed up for them and showed that he would be the mayor for all New Yorkers.
All right, Phil,
and you could even hear the cheers
we
where we are
appreciate
right
her
now.
comments. We know.
Hey,
yes.
Phil, we're going to interrupt you for just a second. Mr. Mamdani and Mayor Mamdani.
Mayor Mamdani.
And his wife just walked in to a round of applause and cheers.
And it's interesting when you take a look at this view here, you can really see all the people inside. There's some of the 4,000 again that were ticketed guests, and now they're presenting, the colors here with the flags at the different departments of the city. Already quick appointments for so many of these departments. We mentioned the police commissioner overnight, the transportation commissioner now installed, but it's part of the celebration too of how Mark Levine is here as well,
as well as Jumaane Williams before Mr. Mamdani officially takes his public oath of office.
Please welcome to the
Exactly.
stage
It's now
Javier Munoz as we rise for the national anthem.
All right, let's listen to the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The national anthem delivered by Javier
To deliver
Munoz.
a welcome
We are
message,
expecting in just a few moments a welcome, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it is my deep honor and privilege to welcome you to the inauguration of our new mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. We gather here today to celebrate the beginning of his leadership, as well as that of two incredible elected officials who will be guiding the city by his side, Public Advocate Jumaane D. Williams and our new controller, Mark D. Levine. We also celebrate the hundreds and thousands of public servants and city leaders getting to work today, from our sanitation workers and librarians, to our commissioners, deputy mayors, and our school's chancellor, as they care for our city and its people in the coming weeks, months, and years. Together, this ascent marks a new era for New York City, led by a historic new mayor in Zohran Mamdani, guided by his dedication to a working class that makes our beautiful city run. Importantly, I also ask that we consider today an inauguration for each one of us, too, the nearly 8.5 million New Yorkers who make up the greatest city on earth. Because it is the people of New York City who have chosen historic, ambitious leadership in response to untenable and unprecedented times. New York, we have chosen courage over fear. We have chosen prosperity for the many over spoils for the few. And when the entrenched ways would rather have us dig in our feet and seek refuge in the past, we have chosen instead to turn towards making a new future for all of us. In Zohran Mamdani, we have chosen a mayor who is relentlessly dedicated to making life not just possible, but aspirational for working people. New York City has chosen the ambitious pursuit of universal child care, affordable rent and housing, and clean and dignified public transit for all. And we have chosen that over the distractions of bigotry and the barbarism of extreme income inequality. We have chosen this path because we know that it's the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do, and that if we can make it here, we can make it anywhere. New York City, this is an inauguration for all of us, because choosing this mayor and this vision is an ambitious pursuit. It calls on all of us to return to public life en masse. Now is the time for us to turn towards our neighbors, stand with them, and return to community life. A city for all will require all of us to fill our streets, our schools, our houses of faith, our PTAs and our block associations as we support this mayor in making an affordable city a reality for all of us. Zohran Mamdani will be the first Muslim mayor of our great city. He will be our first immigrant mayor in over a century. And he will be the youngest mayor of New York City in generations. But most importantly, Zohran will be a mayor for all of us. With that, let us extend our deepest well wishes and support to Zohran, his wife Rama, and his family, as well as those of our public advocate Jumani Williams and controller Mark Levine. We send you, your spouses and families, and all your loved ones, all the support in the world as you embark on this great pursuit of a better city and future for all. Felicidades.
All right, so we've been listening to the opening remarks from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You know, it's interesting to think about the Congresswoman from Queens for so long, the face of the progressive movement for the Democrats, and certainly celebrating Mayor Mamdani now taking over for the city's the city here in New York, the country's biggest city. Coming up, we expect to hear a couple of other things. The Invocation led by Imam Latif, and then a little bit later, some music from PS22, a choir from Staten Island.
Yes. Is it that before Mandy Patinkin is also going to be?
And then we'll see the official swearing in of Mark Levine. But later, there is a poet that is going to be delivering a poem written for Mayor Mamdani, Cornelius Eady. Let's listen to the
Allah,
invocation.
Ya Rahman, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, most merciful of those who show mercy. We turn to you on this day from our city with hopeful hearts. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for the amazing individuals you have gathered here, diverse in color, language, journey, and name, but united in purpose, stitched together by shared hopes, all yearning to build something meaningful, lasting, and rooted in love, dignity, respect, and justice, no longer for the few, but for all. We come before you mindful that moments like this do not arrive on their own. They are carried forward by sacrifice, by organizing, by courage, by people who refuse to accept that the way things were was the way they had to remain.
Say so.
We come knowing that this day stands on the shoulders of so many who were told to wait their turn, to quiet their demands, to lower their expectations, but instead chose to believe that another New York was possible. We recognize that belief is not abstract. It was practiced by tenants organizing against displacement, by workers demanding fair wages, by parents advocating for their children's futures, by communities who kept showing up even when the odds said they should not. We gather today with hearts shaped by this city, by its noise in its neighborhoods, by its subways and sanctuaries, by the dreams carried in many languages and the prayers whispered on crowded blocks. We thank you for New York City, for a place that has taught the world how difference can become strength, how survival can become solidarity, how strangers can become neighbors, and for being a place that taught us that a young immigrant, democratic socialist Muslim can be bold enough to run and brave enough to win. Not by abandoning conviction, but by standing firmly within it. Not by shrinking who he is, but by trusting that authenticity can move a city towards justice. We thank you for the beautiful diversity of this city, for a people formed across continents and generations, across race and religion, culture and class. Teach us to never see that diversity as something to manage or fear, but as a sacred trust, a collective inheritance that expands our moral imagination and strengthens our shared future. On this day of transition and responsibility, we ask you to bless this moment of leadership and all who are entrusted with the weight of public service. Grant wisdom to Mayor Zohran Mamdani and remind him that leadership is not about power but about proximity to the people who struggle, to the voices too often ignored, to the lives behind the statistics. Keep him close to the realities of this city, to the family doubling up in a one-bedroom apartment because rent has outpaced wages, to the home health aide commuting hours each day to care for others while struggling to afford care for themselves, to the public school student navigating overcrowded classrooms, to the small business owner choosing between closing their doors or passing rising costs onto neighbors who already have too little. Bless him with the courage to remain grounded, the humility to keep learning, and the strength to lead with principle, even when the pressure to compromise is loud. Let his leadership reflect the movements and communities that made this moment possible, and never let him forget that this office exists to serve the people, not to rise above them. We lift up all those who came together to make what many said can never happen, happen. Organizers and volunteers, neighbors who spoke to neighbors, young people who believed their voices matter, elders who remembered past struggles and recognized this moment as part of a longer arc. Bless those who knocked on doors in the cold, who stood on street corners with clipboards and hope, who had difficult conversations rooted in love, and who chose participation over despair. Let the spirit that carried this moment forward not fade after today, but deepen and always endure. Make this city affordable for the families who built it and the workers who sustain it. Let no one have to choose between rent and dignity, between medicine and meals, between staying and surviving. We lift before you those living paycheck to paycheck in the shadow of unimaginable wealth, those working multiple jobs yet still one emergency away from crisis, those whose labor keeps the city moving but whose lives feel increasingly pushed to the margins. Let justice not be a slogan but a structure. Let equity not be a promise but a practice. Let policy be shaped by compassion and budgets reflective of our values. Protect the most vulnerable amongst us, our children and elders, our immigrants and asylum seekers, our unhoused neighbors, our workers, our artists, our caregivers, and the students who keep the city alive. Heal what has been broken by neglect and greed. Soften hearts hardened by fear. Replace cynicism with courage and despair with collective hope. And let that hope be something we practice daily, not something we push back. Let it live in our policies, our streets, our schools, and our systems. Teach us that hope is not passive. It is built through accountability, through care, and through a refusal to abandon one another. Remind all New Yorkers, those born here and those who arrived yesterday, that the city belongs to all of us and that our liberation is bound together. Help us show up for one another, not just in moments of crisis, but in the long, patient work of care. Teach us that the city we pray for is the city we must also build. And make this administration and all of us who call this place home a means of mercy, a force for fairness, and a reflection of your justice in this world. Let this moment be not an ending, but a beginning. Let what was once thought impossible become the standard by which we measure our future. And let New York City continue to show the world what is possible when people believe in one another, and continue to show that respect, dignity, and compassion are no longer for the few, but for the all. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well done. Well done, Imam.
All right, so we've been listening to the invocation delivered by Imam Khalid Latif and really taking us on a journey of how Mayor Mamdani hammered home the message that so many New Yorkers are struggling with. How do you afford to live in this city?
Exactly, and that this is their city and they deserve to be a part of its future. This performance, actor and singer Mandy Patinkin with the choir from PS 22, I think, on Staten Island. Patinkin, of course, a very vocal Jewish supporter of Mr. Mamdani's.
Right, which is important. He faced criticism from the Jewish community for previous statements, as we mentioned earlier. So what he was able to do is recruit some people of the Jewish faith to come on board to his message and his campaign, and ultimately now his mayoralship. As you see the chorus here, just so adorable from Staten Island, and to see, so many of these kids. Who knows? Maybe the next mayor could be here right now on the steps of City Hall.
Well, I think the next mayor was just talking to Safan.
Yeah,
or at
right.
least maybe
I should
20
say,
years down the road.
I know we have young mayors now. Maybe not next mayor, but future mayor. So,
but certainly these are future young voters.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Let's listen to their performance on a special day.
The world is a hopeless jumble, and the raindrops tumble all around. Heaven opens a magic lane when all the clouds darken up the skyway. There's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't we?
There it is. So there's a, yeah. Listening to that actor singer Mandy Patinkin, along with the choir from PS22 on Staten Island, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Mark Levine, moments from now, will be sworn in officially as the city's comptroller. He was the Manhattan Borough president. He's had a long history of New York politics and taking another etch in sort of his history book here. Talk about some of the key players coming into the incoming administration. We talked about some of the commissioners that have been appointed. It started right away, really out of the gate, with the first deputy mayor being appointed. Dean Foulahan, of course, a veteran of New York politics. Commissioner Tisch of the NYPD. Lillian Bonsignor made history herself as the commissioner of the FDNY. Kamar Samuels, the school's chancellor, and then Mike Flynn, the transportation commissioner. And you see some of the names up there and some of the people that are going to lead some of these important departments in the city who have a lot of experience.
Exactly. We talk about the fact that Mr. Mamdani is certainly ambitious, but he's also very young, recognizes that he needs some experienced players in his administration to get the ball moving the way he wants to get things done.
Absolutely. You see Attorney General Tish James about to administer the oath for Mr. Levine. As that process is underway, some of the formulaic stuff that is happening here at City Hall, in addition to the celebratory atmosphere, let's go in studio now to Liz Cho, because Liz, you know, when we watched the acceptance speech from Mayor Mamdani, it was a very aggressive tone. He came out very forceful. Of course, he was very energetic. But tone is important on this first official day on the job. And I know you'll be watching that with all of us closely to see what he's going to say, but also how he's going to say it.
Exactly. A very important aspect of it. And good afternoon to all of you. We are continuing our coverage of today's inauguration. Joining me right now via Zoom is ABC's Deputy Political Director Ben Siegel and David Birdsell of King University. Gentlemen, thank you both so very much for joining us today. Obviously, a very big afternoon politically. Mike just mentioned the tone that we are hoping and expecting to hear from Zohran Mamdani as he presents his first major speech since taking last night's oath of office. David, let me ask you, what is it that you are expecting? What tone are you hoping to hear from Zohran Mamdani in just a few minutes from now?
I expect it to be optimistic, inclusive. As you mentioned a few moments ago, he had a very triumphant and slightly confrontational acceptance speech after winning the election in November. But what we're going to see now, I suspect, is both an effort to unite and an effort to chart a clear path forward. How is he going to do what he's going to do, and particularly what's he going to do over the next 100 days?
I think what was really interesting so far and what we have seen in this inauguration ceremony is the fact that, you know, AOC came out and said this is an inauguration for all of us, all New Yorkers, and even Mandy Patinkin in his song of Over the Rainbow, he changed the very last lyric from I to we. And it certainly seems, Ben, that we is the central message here today in this inauguration.
I think that is the focus. And like the Congresswoman alluded to, this is sort of a new moment for New York City. It's certainly a new moment for the Democratic Party, both in New York and around the country, to have someone of his stature really be rising to the top of the party. And he has to show, I think, in this speech and moving forward, that he can really balance the ambitions and ambition, the relentless energy, these things you heard a lot of during the campaign, with action and accomplishment and getting things done. I think it's been fascinating throughout the day's coverage on the network hearing from people in the crowd. What do they want to see from Mamdani now that he's mayor? What do they want him to do and achieve? And many of these things are incompatible with one another. He had so many promises and so many people's hopes and aspirations were seen in his campaign, and he has to be able to address all of those and move the ball forward on some very ambitious things while keeping everybody together in a very large, very diverse city. It'll be fascinating to watch, and I think this is the first moment of that movement to try to keep everybody rowing in the same direction in the city while also trying to accomplish many of the ambitious things he's set out for himself.
So let me ask you this, Ben, very quickly. You know, today's inauguration is much more than just a local political story. You know, so many are keenly focused on this inauguration, this administration, nationally, what it means for Republicans and Democrats for so many reasons. So let's talk about what is at stake here. And it is so important that Mamdani hits this ground running. So how difficult is that going to be for him and for his administration?
I think it's going to be a big challenge for him. It's one thing to campaign on lowering the rent in New York City and funding universal child care. It's another thing to get the money for that, raising taxes, which you need the Albany State House to do, and changing the way policing is done in the city, which you need the city council to do. You need buy-in from a lot of different places. And it's also, I think, a moment for the Democratic Party. One of his great successes has been this message of affordability that you now see the national party really picking up and running with as almost their main message running into the midterms next year in the battle for control of Congress is affordability, the crisis that people are seeing on their pocketbooks, paying for housing, paying for health care. This is something that he really brought to the forefront, and it's really imperative for him and for the Democratic Party that in this case they see some results on this and they're able to accomplish things that bring down people's costs of living and their rents, maybe not right away, but you know, in the near future here, certainly within the next year and the first 100 days, he's going to have to show some results, and the stakes are enormous, not just for the entire Democratic Party, but for the vision of the party, for the progressive wing of the party that he represents, and that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who does have higher office ambitions of her own, also represents.
Right, as well as Bernie Sanders, who has also been a very close ally of Zohran Mamdani. All right, Ben Siegel, we appreciate that. David, I want to go back to you to get your take on it and talk a little bit more about, you know, how does Zohran Mamdani kind of strike the tone and transition from all the aspirational talk that we have heard from him to a more realistic tone?
Well, he's got to show mechanism. He's got to show how this is going to get done. One of the things that's been very impressive, in my view, since the election has been his willingness to show a very clear pragmatic approach to governing. The appointment as first deputy mayor of Dean Foulahan, for example, a man who has directed the budget in New York City, who has directed the budget for New York State. He is an operator's operator who understands how the system works. And to tap somebody like that, to marry that to these very lofty goals, which are going to be extremely expensive and difficult to achieve. That doesn't mean they can't be achieved, but that's going to be hard. And Liz, just to take this briefly back to your question about how this resonates nationally. Right now, Democrats have two very sharply different approaches, all linked to, or both of them linked to affordability. But if you look at the Mikey Sherrill and the Abigail Spanberger victories in the governor's mansions in New Jersey and Virginia, respectively, they talked about affordability, but they stuck to a very moderate position on all of the rest of the politics. Zohran Mamdani offers a contrast. He's pushing a much more actively progressive agenda, and testing those waters is going to be very, very important for the midterms in 26 and for the presidential election in 28 beyond.
You know, his three big campaign things: free rent, free buses, free universal childcare. A lot of use of the word "free" in there. So, how prepared is he? You know, starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon when he has to get to work to get that done.
Well, it's really going to be a challenge because it has to be a matter not only of his own preparation, but of his colleagues and counterparts in Albany. The city has very limited capacity at any level through the council, through the mayor, to deal with revenue. That comes, and all taxation comes from Albany. So it has to be something that starts in the assembly, gets approved in the Senate, and gets signed by the governor. And remember, this is happening during a statewide election year. Does Kathy Hochul, as a candidate for governor, want to campaign.
All right,
on
David,
a-
I hate to interrupt you right now, but the inauguration is going on right now. We do want to get it back out to City Hall, where we believe the next portion of this ceremony. Dave, the poet, is going to speak right now and give an original poem that he has written. Let's go ahead and listen to Cornelius Eady and Proof.
First of all, I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank the mayor and his staff for inviting me, for the honor of inviting me here to read this poem. This morning, when I woke up, my wife joked that sometime during the campaign, there was probably somebody who said, him? He'll get elected when hell freezes over. So here we are. And I really want to really just thank the biggest, greatest gift I think I've ever had was to be in the Blue Room this morning after doing sound check, because the energy and the recognition and the joy of this moment was incredible. I mean, this is it, isn't it? I mean, this is what this work has been about, right? And it was just wonderful to see people see that moment. I was reminded this morning that New York was the first capital of the United States. And it seems to me that this might be another kind of new beginning for a certain kind of energy that might starts here and goes out across the country, the rest of the nation. So, though this is a New York poem, a New York-based poem, I'd like to dedicate this poem. I just retired. I'd like to dedicate this poem to my trans, queer, foreign students of color at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So they can see this is possible. The poem is called Proof. Proof. You have to imagine it. Who said you were too dark, too large, too queer, too loud? Who said you were too poor, too strange, too fat? You have to imagine it. Who said you must keep quiet? Who heard your story, then rolled their eyes? Who tried to change your name to invisible? You've got to imagine. Who heard your name and refused to pronounce it? Who checked their watch and said, not now? James Baldwin wrote, "The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it." New York, city of invention, roiling town, refresher and renewer. New York, city of the real, where the canyons whisper in 100 tongues. New York, where your lucky self waits for your arrival, where there is always soil for your root. This is our time. The taste of us, the spice of us, the hollers and the rhythms and the beats of us, in the echo of our ancestors who made certain we know who we are. City of insistence, city of resistance. You have to imagine an army that wins without firing a bullet, a joy that wears down the rock of no. Up from insults, up from blocked doors, up from trick bags, up from fear, up from shame, up from the way it was done before. You have to imagine that space they said wasn't yours, that time they said you'd never own. The invisible city lit, on its way. This moment is our proof. Thank you.
And you've been listening to the poet Cornelius Eady with an original piece of work titled Proof. The first time since 2014 a poet has been included in the mayoral inauguration of New York City. Last time was during Mayor de Blasio's inauguration. But Sandra, it's interesting, you know, Mr. Eady has an interesting story. He is a supporter of Mr. Mamdani, as you heard, Mayor Mamdani. He shares the same politics, but he got this unsolicited email from the transition team saying, would you be interested in reciting a poem? At first, he thought it was a phishing spam type thing. And then he realized, oh no, they really do want me. And it was a beautiful moment there for him to recite something that meant so, you could clearly see it meant so deeply to him to be able to share those words today.
Exactly. We are moving right along here. We have the oath of office. Jumaane Williams will be taking that, correct? Yes. Public Advocate Jumaane Williams will be sworn in. We've been talking a lot about the job Mr. Mamdani has in front of him. Campaigning is a lot different than actually governing.
Right.
So now he's got to figure out how to make good on those promises. He's got to turn those campaign slogans into action.
Yet, I felt at home. As I walked through the city, the bright light seems to whisper in my ear.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani's agenda largely boils down to one word: affordability, and three proposals he hammered again and again on the campaign trail.
We're going to freeze the Together, New York. We're going to make buses fast and Together, New York. We're going to deliver universal.
Perhaps the most ambitious of the three, the promise for universal child care for children as young as 6 weeks old. It already has the backing of Governor Kathy Hochul.
I know that's a priority of the mayor-elects, and we can work on that together. So our conversation has been very positive.
Mamdani wants a tax hike on millionaires and corporations in order to fund the program, which would cost billions of dollars per year. A tax increase requires action from lawmakers in Albany and, importantly, the support of the governor, who opposes raising income taxes.
That's a conversation that continues, and it's one that I believe presents the most obvious way to fund initiatives such as this.
Another expensive proposal, one that would cost hundreds of millions of dollars per year: free MTA bus service for everyone. The plan also relies on tax hikes.
3/4 of New Yorkers support making buses free.
But Governor Hochul and MTA Chair Janno Lieber pushed back on the idea. The governor says the focus should instead be on an expansion of reduced fares for low-income New Yorkers, which could be accomplished through state budget negotiations.
I cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of a system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways.
I want to make sure that people of limited income get priority in this discussion.
The third pillar of Mamdani's affordability plan, a rent freeze on the city's roughly 1 million rent-stabilized apartments, which would have to go through the city's Rent Guidelines Board. 5 of the 9 board members are appointees of former Mayor Eric Adams, who actively fought back against the rent freeze.
The mayor is seemingly unsatisfied with a record of raising rents by more than 12% on more than 2 million New Yorkers. I continue to believe in the importance of delivering relief for the 8.5 million people who love this city.
And of course, those campaign promises have excited Mr. Mamdani's supporters. They want to see those things happen. He certainly has his work cut out for him. But I suspect he's figuring out how he's going to jump over every hurdle that lands in front of him, or at least trying to.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it is one thing to promise something, it's another to make it happen, and that's part of the challenge of being the mayor. ABC's Aaron Katursky has been following this conversation. That's not just here in New York. We see these candidates across the country as we bring Aaron back into the conversation. Aaron, we see these, especially as we head into the midterms, these Democratic candidates just hammering home the message, echoing what Mayor Mamdani used to get to this point today of affordability. And how do you make things more affordable, not just in New York, but across the country?
Every Democratic candidate has taken up that mantle, Mike, and I think it's noteworthy that, Mamdani as an upstart, as someone who was unheard of this time a year ago, suddenly his message resonated, and resonated not just here in New York, but also all over the country, especially with Democrats looking for a way to upend what had been President Trump's triumph in the last election. And that's being reflected, I think, just in the crowd here, people in their caps that say tax the rich and democratic socialist. This is a real test, Mike, of whether the progressive agenda that's been championed by Bernie Sanders, by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, now Mayor Mamdani, whether it can work. And people here seem to be counting on it.
And Aaron, that really is the big question. Can it work? How is he going to do these things? Earlier on we noted the fact that both Mr. Mamdani and President Trump really ran on similar issues, this whole question of affordability. The president himself has had some issues actually doing what he said he wanted to do in terms of bringing prices down. Not as easy as he indicated it would be. I suppose Mr. Mamdani may run into some of the same.
But Aaron, to piggyback what Sandra was saying, it is interesting as you see the official swearing in now for the public advocate Giovanni Williams. That's playing out on the stage here as we await Mayor Mamdani to give his official address. He'll be introduced by Senator Sanders, and it's something that Senator Sanders has been saying for years. It's about the working class. It's about trying to make things quote unquote fair. But there is some parallels, and perhaps the President Trump supporters and Mayor Mamdani supporters don't want to acknowledge this, but there are some similar themes into these two men in the way they were able to captivate a certain group of this country or this city and have a message that resonates with people who felt like they were not being heard on the main landscape, right?
People who felt left behind, people who felt unheard, unseen, people who felt government wasn't working for them, people who felt that things kept getting farther and farther out of reach. Those were President Trump's supporters, and many of them are now Mayor Mamdani's supporters, and they're counting on him to make their life more affordable. Is that through free buses, free childcare, a freeze in rent? Could be. We'll see. It's noteworthy who's here on the stage, the very people that Mamdani will need to make his agenda a success. Kathy Hochul, who does not share his left of center politics in many ways, but who embraced Mamdani. Chuck Schumer, who did not endorse during the campaign, seated here now on the dais. He's going to need Washington, he's going to need state leaders, and he's going to need New Yorkers, including the million New Yorkers who did not vote for it.
That is an excellent point, Aaron. And many of the people who did vote for him, they're standing out here in the cold today watching what's going on the stage on big screens. Stephon Kim is out along the Canyon of Heroes. Stephon, just curious, what are they saying? Are folks hearing what they want to hear? They're anxiously awaiting to hear from the new mayor.
Well, Sandra, first of all, we're at that point in the day where the sun is starting to shift onto the Canyon of Heroes. So you're seeing people running in sprints in place and grabbing some sun as that sunlight comes in. I'm joined now by two young women from Brooklyn. This is your first inauguration. First, tell me, what has your experience been like so far?
So we came here like at 11, first in the lines. It is really brick out here, but it is a really historical moment for us, for everybody, for New Yorkers, and I'm just so excited to have a mayor that truly wants to, make a change, to have an affordable city and care for every New Yorker. So I'm really excited.
Same question to you. This is your first inauguration. This is what you expected. Is it worth it?
I didn't expect this to be this much cold. I almost didn't came, but she pulled me through, and here I'm glad I came. But
she fooled you through, so it's her fault. Okay, yeah. Let me ask you this though. I know we haven't heard from the mayor yet, but you have heard several speeches and poets. What do you think so far about what you've heard?
I think it's really great. Everybody is showing their care for New Yorkers, immigrants who run the city, and I truly hope they can keep their words. And we have to make sure we hold them accountable for everything. And yeah, I truly hope it goes well for New York City.
Okay, same question to you. What stood out so far from what you've heard from these speeches?
Again, the people who are actually speaking to us, I feel like it's especially young generation, the immigrants, that's what we expected, that's what we expect from the mayor. And I hope they really, truly delivers what they said, what they promised so far.
Thank you guys for joining us in the cold. We're almost there, I promise. And so there you heard it. We talked about this a few times on this broadcast, this theme of hope and we and us. And she just mentioned how she liked that they are speaking to us is how they feel. And, right now they're being fueled by hope and optimism. Hopefully that's enough to get us through this cold. Back to you guys.
At least you have the sun now, Stefan. That's a positive sort of turn of events as we make our way later in the afternoon. Great to hear from people out here because, we mentioned it a year ago. A lot of people didn't know who the Assemblyman was, and then he made this historic run, hammering. He was relentless on that message of making the city more affordable.
And the message that they had the right to ask for that and demand it. And you've heard that from many of the speeches here today,
right,
that this is your city. You have a right to be a part of what happens here.
And we heard from that woman, too. She hopes that things can come true.
And to hold him accountable.
Right. And Phil Tate's been out here as well, braving these conditions, but also talking to people who are out here supporting Mayor Mamdani. Phil, what are you hearing as this ceremony progresses?
Mike, Zerda, it's been that message of affordability that has really resonated with many of the people that got behind him and this campaign. You could hear a pin drop as this speech is going on. Right across the street from me right now, there is a big jumbotron that folks have just been sitting here quietly, patiently, just listening. They are not in a rush to go anywhere, but they said that they just had to be here. And I've been speaking with folks who said that they actually even knew him from his time as an assembly member, even before he decided his run for mayor. And right now I'm joined with this young man named Nephew. He's been here. He's using this little post that has been a nice, comfortable seat for him to look at that jumbotron and to take in this moment to hear from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and several of the speakers that have spoken. What are you experiencing in this moment from what you've heard so far?
I think for me, there's a lot of hope, and I think that's what kind of this whole Mamdani kind of represents to me, is like a hope and a path forward for just like the state of the world right now. I think, a path forward to an affordable New York, a path forward to a fight against kind of the fascist movement that's going on against ICE, abducting our neighbors. And I think there's a lot of hope in just protecting New Yorkers and making New York a real home for everybody.
Now, we've had a little banter out here. You said there is much hope, but we did share that these plans are ambitious. You believe that our Mayor Mamdani, can get it done over the next 4 years?
I believe that it's going to be an uphill battle, and I think, at least that there is a path, there is a plan to get things done. I think, a lot of people boast affordability without a plan forward, and I think, having free buses, free childcare, having a rent freeze, all of these things are incredibly huge things that would make New York much more affordable and accessible for everyone here.
Nephew, thanks so much for talking with me. And again, it was that message of affordability that really resonated with a lot of people over these past couple months that Zohran Mamdani had really hammered down on. And of course, we'll be continuing to stand by, speaking with folks out here and what they're experiencing during this inauguration ceremony. Sandra, Mike?
Phil, thank you. Stay warm. We see the young people in the crowd, and it reminds me that Mayor Mamdani is really one of the first mayors to embrace social media to the degree that he did, spreading that message of affordability with a lot of videos that really captured a lot of young people's minds and ultimately votes.
Exactly. Since his election, Mr. Mamdani has been working hard to build the team that he is going to need to try and make some of these promises come true. Overnight, he announced the new transportation commissioner. Joe Torres takes a look at the team that Zohran Mamdani has assembled to try to get the hard work ahead of him done.
It is now my sincere privilege to introduce your next school's chancellor.
Less than 24 hours before being sworn in as mayor, Zohran Mamdani announced Kamar Samuels as the next chancellor of New York City Public Schools.
I have had every role, and in every role my focus has been the same: delivering results.
He has served as an educator for nearly 2 decades, beginning his career as an elementary school teacher before becoming a principal in the Bronx.
The great school system starts with leadership that knows the work from inside out.
Lillian Bonsignore is a career first responder, and now she'll run the world's busiest fire department, one of the most important appointments of the incoming administration.
I know the job. I know what the firefighters need, and I can translate that to this administration.
Bonsignore is a trailblazer for the LGBTQ community. She will serve as the FDNY's first openly gay commissioner. The 56-year-old is a highly respected, detail-oriented manager with a style comparable to that of NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who will remain in her post. Dean Fullahan will once again step into the role of first deputy mayor, a position he held under former mayor Bill de Blasio.
There's nothing that the mayor-elect has put forward that I don't believe in and believe is achievable.
Mamdani made the appointment in November, along with Chief of Staff L. Bisgard Church. Elmhurst Hospital CEO Helen Arteaga will serve as deputy mayor for Health and Human Services. Stephen Banks will serve as the next corporation counsel, the city's top lawyer. He joins progressive activist lawyer Ramsey Kassim, another high-ranking attorney who represented Palestinian Algerian activist and Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil.
I hope to do alongside the mayor-elect and his team at City Hall to defend the rights of all New Yorkers.
But Mamdani's administration announcements throughout the past weeks haven't been without controversy. Mamdani chose Catherine Almonte da Costa as his director of appointments, but back in 2011 and 2012, she made a series of anti-Semitic posts on social media. In a statement, she said, in part, "These statements are not indicative of who I am. As the mother of Jewish children, I feel a profound sense of sadness and remorse at the harm these words have caused."
These comments were reprehensible. She expressed a deep sense of remorse. She offered to resign, and I accepted.
So we've been listening to Public Advocate Jumaane Williams as we talked about the administration from Joe Torres, but it was sort of the juxtaposition there of the emotional Jumaane Williams really overcome by today and the work ahead as he continues in the role of public advocate.
And reminding the audience, very emotional, this idea that we are all in this together, which is essentially one of the things Mayor Mamdani has said about why he opened up the streets to 40,000 New Yorkers to be a part of this day, people that otherwise probably would not have been invited to inauguration, the sense that we are all in this together.
Yeah, Jumaane Williams inviting the ticketed crowd here at least to hold hands and recite sort of that theme of we are in this together. Certainly going to take 8.5 million New Yorkers to accomplish a lot of these things that were talked about. And as previous mayors have said, 8.5 million New Yorkers, 15 million opinions. And so Mayor Mamdani will get a taste of that along the way, no doubt about that. But just to kind of set, we're expecting a musical performance at any moment. And then Senator Sanders, who is wearing the same outfit he was wearing for that famous photo at the inauguration of former President Biden. 2021. It is very cold, so he was positioned in that same way that turned into a meme, as a lot of people watching were probably familiar with that meme. And there you see Senator Sanders there engaging with Attorney General Tisch, James. And it's interesting because you think about what Senator Sanders has been saying on a national level for a number of years now, and to see that in this city, yes, it's historically Democratic, but not necessarily as far left as Mayor Mamdani is, and what is going to happen as we move forward. Musical performance now.
Yes, but Lucy Dacus, Bubblicious. I think that's
later on, and let's hear what the crowd is going to hear as we have this musical performance. You see Lucy making her way down here. You know, you think about some of these performers. We're trying to talk in this stuff, let alone sing.
Hey, but they're pros.
They are pros.
They're pros.
Let's listen.
Happy New Year.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill-lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle to for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. Small art and love and beauty, their drudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we bring the greater days. The rising of the women means the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies, bread and roses, bread and roses. Thank you. Congratulations, Zohran.
Wow, what an incredible voice. Lucy Dacus performing Bread and Roses, just a beautiful rendition as she embraces Mayor Mamdani and his wife, now First Lady of New York City, Rama there. And we are now awaiting the ceremonial swearing in performed by Senator Sanders of Zohran Mamdani. So you see the wide shot of the crowd here packed in on this very cold New Year's Day. But you're about to witness history as Senator Sanders, the leader of the progressive movement for so many years, is now about to ceremonially swear in Mayor Mamdani. Let's listen and watch history unfold as the 112th mayor of New York City makes it official on this day.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for inviting me to what has been an extraordinarily moving and beautiful afternoon. And I'm here mostly to thank the people of New York City. At a time in our country's history when we are seeing too much hatred, too much divisiveness, and too much injustice, thank you for electing Zohran Mamdani as your mayor. New York, thank you for inspiring our nation. Thank you for giving us, from coast to coast, the hope and the vision that we can create government that works for all, not just the wealthy and the few. At a moment when people in America, and in fact throughout the world, are losing faith in democracy, over 90,000 of you in this city volunteered for Zohran's campaign. You knocked on doors. You shared your dreams and your hopes for the future of this city. And in the process, you took on the Democratic establishment, the Republican establishment, the President of the United States, and some enormously wealthy oligarchs. And you defeated them in the biggest political upset in modern American history. You showed the world the most important lesson that can be learned today, and that is that when working people stand together, when we don't let them divide us up, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Running a great and winning campaign was extremely difficult, but governing a city of 8 million people with all of its complexities and all of the problems that Zohran is inheriting will be even harder. Zohran needed your help to win the election. Now he will need your help to govern. Grassroots democracy and people participating in the day-to-day struggles of this city will lead to good governance. Please remain involved. You know, all of us have heard how Zohran's opponents have called the agenda that he campaigned on radical, communistic, and absolutely unachievable. Really? That's not what we believe. In the richest country in the history of the world, making sure that people can live in affordable housing is not radical. It is the right and decent thing to do. And in the midst of a massive housing crisis, it is exactly what the people of this city and this country want and need. Providing free and high-quality child care is not radical. Countries all over the world have done it for years. It is what our kids require if they're going to be well prepared for school and what working parents desperately need. It is, in fact, what every city in America should be doing. Free bus transportation is not radical. It will save workers time and money, protect our environment, and make the city more efficient. And making sure that every family in the city, regardless of income, has access to decent, quality food at an affordable cost is not radical. Good nutrition keeps us healthy, helps prevent chronic illnesses. In the long run, city-sponsored grocery stores will save society money. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, demanding that the wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes. As I was saying, demanding that the wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes is not radical. It is exactly the right thing to do. Today, while over 60% of our people in New York, people in Vermont, people all over this country are living paycheck to paycheck, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had. While tens of millions struggle to put food on the table, pay for health care, pay for housing, the top 1% have never, ever had it so good. And yet, there are billionaires and large corporations that pay almost nothing in taxes. That has got to end. That will end. The billionaire class in this city and in this country have got to understand that in America, they cannot have it all. That America, our great country, must belong to all of us, not just a few. And that lesson begins today in New York City. Let me thank you all for the hope and inspiration that you are giving people all over this country. And now it is my honor to swear in your new mayor.
Senator Sanders, the longtime senator from Vermont, giving a rousing speech here to the people who have been ticketed in this intimate area, echoing the messages that he has been saying for a number of years and that resonated with enough New Yorkers for Mayor Mamdani to become elected. And now a ceremony from Senator Sanders and Mayor Mamdani.
I, Zohran Mamdani.
I, Zohran Mamdani.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of New York.
The Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Charter of the City of New York.
And the Charter of the City of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the office of the Mayor of the City of New York.
Of the office of the Mayor of the City of New York.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And so there was the ceremony. It was made official overnight with Attorney General James in one of the oldest subway stations beneath City Hall. But now, the moment Mayor Mamdani has been thinking about for at least a year when he did that polar plunge at Coney Island and was a relatively unknown figure in New York politics, certainly nationally and internationally. And now Mayor Mamdani speaks to his supporters as the 112th mayor of the country's biggest city. Let's listen.
My fellow New Yorkers, today begins a new era. I stand before you, moved by the privilege of taking this sacred oath, humbled by the faith that you have placed in me, and honored to serve as either your 111th or 112th mayor of New York City. But I do not stand alone. I stand alongside you, the tens of thousands of you gathered here in Lower Manhattan, warmed against the January chill by the resurgent flame of hope. I stand alongside countless more New Yorkers watching from cramped kitchens in Flushing and barbershops in East New York, from cell phones propped against the dashboards of parked taxicabs at LaGuardia, from hospitals in Mott Haven and libraries in El Barrio that have too long known only neglect. I stand alongside construction workers in steel-toed boots and halal cart vendors whose knees ache from working all day. I stand alongside neighbors who carry a plate of food to the elderly couple down the hall, those in a rush who still lift strangers' strollers up subway stairs, and every person who makes the choice day after day, even when it feels impossible, to call our city home. I stand alongside over 1 million New Yorkers who voted for this day nearly 2 months ago. And I stand just as resolutely alongside those who did not. I know there are some who view this administration with distrust or disdain, or who see politics as permanently broken. And while only action can change minds, I promise you this: if you are a New Yorker, I am your mayor. Regardless of whether we agree, I will protect you, celebrate with you, mourn alongside you, and never, not for a second, hide from you. I thank the labor and movement leaders here today, the activists and the elected officials who will return to fighting for New Yorkers the second this ceremony concludes, and the performers who have gifted us with their talent. Thank you to Governor Hochul. Thank you as well to Mayor Adams. Dorothy's son, a son of Brownsville who rose from washing dishes to the highest position in our city, for being here as well. He and I have had our share of disagreements, but I will always be touched that he chose me as the mayoral candidate that he would most want to be trapped with on an elevator. Thank you to the two titans who, as an assembly member, I've had the privilege of being represented by in Congress, Nidia Velázquez and our incredible opening speaker, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You have paved the way for this moment. Thank you to the man whose leadership I seek most to emulate, who I am so grateful to be sworn in by today, Senator Bernie Sanders. Thank you to my teams, from the assembly to the campaign to the transition, and now the team I am so excited to lead from City Hall. Thank you to my parents, Mama and Baba, for raising me, for teaching me how to be in this world, and for having brought me to this city. Thank you to my family, from Kampala to Delhi. And thank you to my wife, Rama. For being my best friend and for always showing me the beauty in everyday things. And most of all, thank you to the people of New York. A moment like this comes rarely. Seldom do we hold such an opportunity to transform and reinvent. Rarer still is it the people themselves whose hands are the ones upon the levers of change. And yet we know that too often in our past, moments of great possibility have been promptly surrendered to small imagination and smaller ambition. What was promised was never pursued. What could have changed remained the same. For the New Yorkers most eager to see our city remade, the weight has only grown heavier. The wait has only grown longer. In writing this address, I have been told that this is the occasion to reset expectations, that I should use this opportunity to encourage the people of New York to ask for little and expect even less. I will do no such thing. The only expectation I seek to reset is that of small expectations. Beginning today, we will govern expansively and audaciously. We may not always succeed, but never will we be accused of lacking the courage to try. To those who insist that the era of big government is over, hear me when I say this. No longer will City Hall hesitate to use its power to improve New Yorkers' lives. For too long, we have turned to the private sector for greatness while accepting mediocrity from those who serve the public. I cannot blame anyone who has come to question the role of government, whose faith in democracy has been eroded by decades of apathy. We will restore that trust by walking a different path, one where government is no longer solely the final recourse for those struggling, one where excellence is no longer the exception. We expect greatness from the cooks wielding 1,000 spices, from those who stride out onto our Broadway stages, and from our starting point guard at Madison Square Garden. Let us demand the same from those who work in government. In a city where the mere names of our streets are associated with the innovation of the industries that call them home, we will make the word City Hall synonymous with both resolve and results. As we embark upon this work, let us advance a new question, a new answer to the question asked of every generation. Who does New York belong to? For much of our history, the response from City Hall has been simple. It belongs only to the wealthy and well-connected, those who never strain to capture the attention of those in power. Working people have reckoned with the consequences. Crowded classrooms and public housing developments where the elevators sit out of orders. Roads littered with potholes and buses that arrive half an hour late, if at all. Wages that do not rise and corporations that rip off consumers and employees alike. And still, there have been brief, fleeting moments where the equation changed. 12 years ago, Bill de Blasio stood where I stand now as he promised to put an end to economic and social inequalities that divided our city into two. In 1990, David Dinkins swore the same oath I swore today, vowing to celebrate the gorgeous mosaic that is New York, where every one of us is deserving of a decent life. And nearly 6 decades before him, Fiorella LaGuardia took office with the goal of building a city that was far greater and more beautiful for the hungry and the poor. Some of these mayors achieved more success than others, but they were unified by a shared belief that New York could belong to more than just a privileged few. It could belong to those who operate our subways and rake our parks, those who feed us biryani and beef patties, picanha and pastrami on rye. And they know that this belief could be made true if only government dared to work hardest for those who work hardest. Over the years to come, my administration will resurrect that legacy. City Hall will deliver an agenda of safety, affordability, and abundance, where government looks and lives like the people it represents, never flinches in the fight against corporate greed, and refuses to cower before challenges that others have deemed too complicated. In so doing, we will provide our own answer to that age-old question. Who does New York belong to? Well, my friends, we can look to Madiba and the South African Freedom Charter. New York belongs to all who live in it. Together, we will tell a new story of our city. This will not be a tale of one city governed only by the 1%, nor will it be a tale of two cities, the rich versus the poor. It will be a tale of 8.5 million cities, each of them a New Yorker with hopes and fears, each a universe, each of them woven together. The authors of this story will speak Pashto and Mandarin, Yiddish and Creole. They will pray in mosques, at shul, at church, at gurudwaras and mandirs and temples. And many will not pray at all. They will be Russian Jewish immigrants in Brighton Beach, Italians in Rossville, and Irish families in Woodhaven, many of whom came here with nothing but a dream of a better life, a dream which has withered away. They will be young people in cramped Marble Hill apartments where the walls shake when the subway passes. They will be black homeowners in St. Albans, whose homes represent a physical testament to triumph over decades of lesser-paid labor and redlining. They will be Palestinian New Yorkers in Bay Ridge, who will no longer have to contend with a politics that speaks of universalism and then makes them the exception. Few of these 8.5 million will fit into neat and easy boxes. Some will be voters from Hillside Avenue or Fordham Road who supported President Trump a year before they voted for me, tired of being failed by their party's establishment. The majority will not use the language that we often expect from those who wield influence. I welcome the change. For too long, those fluent in the good grammar of civility have deployed decorum to mask agendas of cruelty. Many of these people have been betrayed by the established order. But in our administration, their needs will be met. Their hopes and dreams and interests will be reflected transparently in government. They will shape our future. And if for too long these communities have existed as distinct from one another, we will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. Because no matter what you eat, how you pray, or where you come from, the words that most define us are the two we all share: New Yorkers. And it will be New Yorkers who reform a long-broken property tax system. New Yorkers who will create a new Department of Community Safety that will tackle the mental health crisis and let the police focus on the job they signed up to do. New Yorkers who will take on the bad landlords who mistreat their tenants and free small business owners from the shackles of bloated bureaucracy. And I am proud to be one of those New Yorkers. When we won the primary last June, there were many who said these aspirations and those who held them had come out of nowhere. Yet one man's nowhere is another man's somewhere. This movement came out of 8.5 million somewheres. Taxi cab depots and Amazon warehouses, DSA meetings and curbside domino games. The powers that be had looked away from these places for quite some time if they'd known about them at all. So they dismissed them as nowhere. But in our city, where every corner of these 5 boroughs holds power, there is no nowhere and there is no no one. There is only New York and there are only New Yorkers. 8.5 million New Yorkers will speak this new era into existence. It will be loud. It will be different. It will feel like the New York we love. No matter how long you have called this city home, that love has shaped your life. I know that it has shaped mine. This is the city where I set land speed records on my Razor scooter at the age of 12. Quickest 4 blocks of my life. The city where I ate powdered donuts at halftimes during AYSO soccer games and realized I probably was not going to be going pro. The city where I devoured 2 big slices at Coronet's Pizza, played cricket with my friends at Ferry Point Park, and took the 1 train to the BX-10 only to still show up late to Bronx Science. The city where I have gone on hunger strike just outside these gates. Sat claustrophobic on a stalled N train just after Atlantic Avenue and waited in quiet terror for my father to emerge from 26 Federal Plaza. The city where I took a beautiful woman named Rama to McCarran Park on our first date and swore a different oath to become an American citizen on Pearl Street. To live in New York, to love New York, is to know that we are the stewards of something without equal in our world. Where else can you hear the sound of the steel pan, savor the smell of sancocho, and pay $9 for coffee on the same block? Where else could a Muslim kid like me grow up eating bagels and lox every Sunday? That love will be our guide as we pursue our agenda. Here, where the language of the New Deal was born, we will return the vast resources of this city to the workers who call it home. Not only will we make it possible for every New Yorker to afford a life they love once again, we will overcome the isolation that too many feel and connect the people of this city to one another. The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family, because we will deliver universal childcare for the many by taxing the wealthiest few. Those in rent-stabilized homes will no longer dread the latest rent hike, because we will freeze the rent. Getting on a bus without worrying about a fare hike or whether you'll be able to get to your destination on time will no longer be deemed a small miracle, because we will make those buses fast and free. These policies are not simply about the costs we make free, but the lives we fill with freedom. For too long in our city, freedom has belonged only to those who can afford to buy it. Our city hall will change that. These promises carried our movement to City Hall, and they will carry us from the rallying cries of a campaign to the realities of a new era in politics. 2 Sundays ago, as snow softly fell, I spent 12 hours at the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, listening to New Yorkers from every borough as they told me about the city that is theirs. We discussed construction hours on the Van Wyck Expressway and EBT eligibility, affordable housing for artists and ICE raids. I spoke to a man named TJ who said that one day a few years ago, his heart broke as he realized that he would never get ahead here, no matter how hard he worked. I spoke to a Pakistani auntie named Samina, who told me that this movement had fostered something too rare: softness in people's hearts. As she said to me in Urdu, "Logo ke dil badal gaye hain." 142 New Yorkers out of 8.5 million. And yet, if anything united each person sitting across from me, it was the shared recognition that this moment demands a new politics and a new approach to power. We will deliver nothing less as we work each day to make this city belong to more of its people than it did the day before. Here is what I want you to expect from the administration that this morning moved into the building behind me. We will transform the culture of City Hall from one of no to one of how. We will answer to all New Yorkers, not to any billionaire or oligarch who thinks they can buy our democracy. We will govern without shame and insecurity, making no apology for what we believe. I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist. I will not abandon my principles for fear of being deemed radical. As the great senator from Vermont once said, what's radical is a system which gives so much to so few and denies so many people the basic necessities of life. We will strive each day to ensure that no New Yorker is priced out of any one of those basic necessities. And throughout it all, we will, in the words of Jason Terrence Phillips, better known as Jadakiss or Jay to the moi, be outside. Because this is a government of New York, by New York, and for New York. Before I end, I want to ask all of you, if you are able, whether you are here today or anywhere watching, to stand with me. I ask you to stand with us now and every day that follows. City Hall will not be able to deliver on our own. And while we will encourage New Yorkers to demand more from those with the great privilege of serving them, we will encourage you to demand more of yourselves as well. The movement we began over a year ago did not end with our election. It will not end this afternoon. It lives on with every battle we will fight together. Every blizzard and flood we withstand together. Every moment of fiscal challenge we overcome with ambition, not austerity, together. Every way we pursue change in working people's interests rather than at their expense, together. No longer will we treat victory as an invitation to turn off the news. From today onwards, we will understand victory very simply. Something with the power to transform lives, and something that demands effort from each of us every single day. What we achieve together will reach across the 5 boroughs, and it will resonate far beyond. There are many who will be watching. They want to know if the left can govern. They want to know if the struggles that afflict them can be solved. They want to know if it is right to hope again. So standing together with the wind of purpose at our backs, we will do something that New Yorkers do better than anyone else. We will set an example for the world. If what Sinatra said is true, let us prove that anyone can make it in New York and anywhere else too. Let us prove that when a city belongs to the people, there is no need too small to be met, no person too sick to be made healthy, no one too alone to feel like New York is their home. The work continues. The work endures. The work, my friends, has only just begun. Thank you.
There you have it. 34 years ago, a little boy was born in Uganda, and now he is mayor of New York City. In fact, saying just moments ago, Mayor Zohran Mamdani saying, if you are a New Yorker, I am your mayor. Trying to quell all the concerns out there of all the people that launched a lot of criticism at his way. An inclusive speech that lasted about 25 minutes, but doubled down on those key campaign promises, shrugging off the efforts from a lot of people within his own party to say, look, you cannot accomplish what you're promising you're going to accomplish. Instead, Mayor Mamdani embracing big government as we see the confetti cannons firing, and you're about to see the confetti fall here at City Hall. Mayor Mamdani also echoed some of the things and some of the themes from his campaign, but overall was trying to tell people that New York is for everyone, and saying for the 8.5 million people who live here, he is going to work hard to try to make it happen. Again, an inclusive speech, about 25 minutes in that inaugural address. And now it begins. The 112th mayor of New York City officially sworn in, and the work is underway. You can watch the rest of the inauguration ceremony right now at ABC-7 NY. We're going to have a full recap coming up in less than an hour on First at 4. For all of us here at Eyewitness News, thank you so much for watching history. I'm Mike Marza. We now join General Hospital, already in progress.